How long do you want to live on this earth? That is the question that I have for you today. Are you doing absolutely everything to reach that goal? Well, let me tell you some facts. In 2017, the leading cause of death for males was coronary heart disease. In 2017, the leading cause of death for females was dementia and Alzheimer's disease. In 2017, 50% of death of people aged less than 75 were potentially avoidable deaths. The longevity in Australia, the age is 82.5 years. How are you going to make sure that you reach a minimum of that age? In today's episode, we cover longevity, what is longevity, what impacts it, and then I'll give you 5 tips to know how you can increase your longevity. It's Mondays with Mihaela. That's right, me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love, and appreciate your support. For any of you who do not know me, and this is your first time listening to this podcast, to this episode, I'm a qualified naturopath with an absolute passion for health, business, and overall success. Today's episode, Mondays with Mihaela, I'm here to provide you with simple, savvy, and sustainable health hacks to optimize your health. And today's episode, I'm going to be talking about longevity. Let's get straight into it. So, to get started, let's have a look at what does longevity actually mean? What is it? Well, I looked it up in a dictionary and it just actually said long life, right? Long life. It said long life, great duration of life, length or duration of life or viability, the ability to last for a long time, to live for a long time, to be human for a long time on this earth. So I'm guessing that is what longevity is, and that is exactly what I'm talking about today. To ensure, we're alive now. I don't know how old you are, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you're probably thinking, wow, when is my end date? I know it's not the most exciting thing to talk about or think about in that sense, but it is going to happen. That's the thing that's guaranteed in life. Death is guaranteed in life. But I'm here to give you some tips, give you some insight on how people around the world are making sure that their longevity lasts for longer. And in Australia, it's 82.5 years, which is quite a big number. That is a huge number compared to other countries, which we'll talk about later on. So, life expectancy is the most commonly used measure to describe health population and reflects the overall mortality level of a population. And that is the life expectancy of 82.5 in Australia. Life expectancy measures how long, on average, a person is expected to live based on their age, sex, and their country that they live in, right? So in summarizing mortality patterns, life expectancy is often expressed as a number of years of life from birth a person is expected to live. So like I said, in Australia, if you are in Australia and you're listening to this, it is actually quite high, and it's 82.5. Different for males and different for females, but we'll get into that soon. So the life expectancy in Australia has improved dramatically. It's improved, right? For both sexes, for males and females in the last century, particularly life expectancy at birth, compared with other counterparts. So in 1881 to 1890, boys and girls born in 2015 to 2017 can expect to live around 33 to 34 years longer compared to the 1800s. That's 33 years longer. You can live that much longer. That is a long time. You can achieve so much. So if you're about 34 years old, look how much you've already achieved. You've achieved so much already. And that is the part that these individuals didn't achieve back in the 18th century. So yeah, it's a huge jump right there. As you can see with the graph that I've got up here, you can see that in the 18th century, males and females, it's interesting that the males are always under the females, which means that the females are expected to live longer than the male counterpart. But let's look at what about the whole world? What about the whole world, Mihaela? Okay, Australia, like I said, enjoys one of the highest life expectations in the world, 82.5 years in 2015 for males and females at birth combined. We are ranked 6th of the developing country in regards to life expectancy. The country with the highest life expectancy at birth for males was Switzerland, 81.7, and for females was Japan. So if you're like, where am I going to live longer? If you're a female, Japan it is. If you're a male, Switzerland it is for you. So as you can see here, I've got a nice little graph up here, and the graph will show you that in Switzerland, the males, what they live up to, in Japan, in Italy, Spain. It's very interesting because it goes Switzerland, Italy, Japan, Israel, Norway, Sweden, Spain, and then Australia, right? So we are among it. We're amongst it. And for Australia, for males, it's 88.4 years, and for females, 84.5 years, which averages it all out. Very, very interesting. The research on aging, in particular the search on how to live longer and longevity, has been continuous and is ever growing in the last decades due to the social and medical burden correlated to the continuous increase of lifespan in the Western country. So what they're kind of saying is here, because we are living longer, we are placing a heavier burden on the medical system, which could be an issue in some states and some countries where the medical system isn't up to date as much as it is for it to make up. So they're saying that the older you get, the more health issues you have, the more burden you place on the medical system. But you know what? I agree and disagree with that, because if you live happily healthy, you wouldn't be placing such a heavy burden. And not to mention that the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds are putting a huge burden on the medical system at the moment as it is. So I wanted to look into it and provide you with information on what affects longevity, what affects it. Because a lot of people go, well, my mum, my grandma, my great-grandma lived till they were 100, so I'm going to live to 100. Well, are genes impacted? Is it where you live? Is it what you eat? Is it what you do for work? What is it? Let's get straight into it and talk about the number one. Number one is your genes, which is what I said. My grandma lived till about 100. My grandpa lived till about, so forth. So, by the way, my mum's grandma lived to about 90, I think it was 95 or something. So that's pretty good. And my grandma's still alive, which I'm excited. But on another note, so genes, healthy aging and longevity in humans are modulated by a lucky combination of genetic and non-genetic factors, right? But this is interesting. Listen to this. This is interesting. Ready for it? Family studies demonstrated that about 25% of the variation in human longevity is due to genetic factor. That's 25%. So you have control of I had to think about that. 75% of what makes your longevity. 25% is given to you at birth, which is your genes, and then the other 75 you can impact. So one of the main questions in the field is the correlation between genetic background and lifestyle determining the individual's chance of delaying aging and longevity. The life expectancy of birth has been increasing for most of the last century and 100 years in the Western society, thanks to the continuous medical assistance and growth, the improvement of the environment, such as clean air, clean water, or clean air, I wouldn't say clean air, but clean, safe water, mainly safe water and food, and the improvement of nutrients. For instance, in Italy, life expectancy went from 29 years. So life expectancy was 29 years if you're born in 1861. And then 2011 went up to 82 years old. 82 years old. That is absolutely crazy. That's over 150 years. Such a huge, huge change. That's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. 29 years old. So indeed, the number of centenarians, which is people who are over 100 years old in Italy, has increased from 165 to 1,951 to more than 15,000 in 2011. Absolutely crazy. So there's so many of them in Italy at the moment, and they're known as the Blue Zone also, but I'm going to talk about that on another episode, which is really, really interesting. The second one, which is what you can control. So you got your genes, what we said is 25%. Can't really control that. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Dad. Awesome. Let's control the 75%. dietary restrictions is number 2. That's dietary restrictions. It has been reported that dietary restricted mice, which live much longer and show a very delayed aging phenomenon than mice fed, okay, at old age have an expression pattern very different from mice at the same age for a number of genes correlated with life extension, such as those related to DNA repair, stress response, immune response, and other. Therefore, dietary restrictions can trigger a molecular genetic response which postpones aging and age-related phenotypes. That is, just saying that is crazy. I know this is on mice, but it is absolutely crazy. So this is saying that if you restrict your dietary intake, you may be able to live longer. So the link between calorie intake and longevity currently generates a lot of interest. As you can imagine, animal studies suggest that a 10 to 50% reduction in normal calories intake may increase maximum lifespan. That's even 10%. Reducing what you eat by 10% can increase your lifespan. 10 to 50%. That's absolutely crazy. And that's why a lot of diets, I don't know if you've heard that diet that's like 2-5, I think it is. And it's like you eat one day only 500 calories and then you eat whatever, and then the next day you only eat 500 calories. That's dietary restriction. That's restricting your calories, right? Okay, long-term calorie restriction is a robust means of reducing age-related diseases and extending lifespan in multiple species, but the effect in humans are unknown. The low calorie intake, long life expectancy, and high prevalence of centenarians in Okinawa, which is Japan, have been used as an argument to support the calorie restriction hypothesis in humans. So the studies talks about, essentially the study is saying that calorie restrictions in humans is consistent with well-known literature on animals regarding calorie restriction phenotypes and healthy aging. So there you have it, calorie restriction. So you've got your genes, which is 25% makes up of how long you're going to live, your lifespan. Then you've got dietary restrictions, which means you can reduce your calorie intake on certain days and increase them on others, and that may help with longevity. The third one is one of my favorites because I love broccoli, is plant foods. Consuming a wide variety of plant foods such as fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and beans may decrease disease risk and promote longevity. So a key there is also to reduce disease risk, not just to live longer. We don't want to just live longer. We want to live at an optimal level and longer, okay? So we want that decrease in disease risk also. So there was participants of total of 96,469 Seventh-day Adventist men and women recruited between 2002 and 2007. So that's 5 years, from which an analytical sample of, so what they're saying here is for 5 years they looked at about nearly 100,000 Seventh Adventist men and women, and the reason why they use Seventh Adventist is because they eat vegetarian plant-based. They don't eat meat. So diet was assessed at a baseline by a qualitative food frequency questionnaire and categories into 5 dietary patterns. So they looked at non-vegetarians, semi-vegetarians, pesco-vegetarians, lacto-ovo-vegetarians, and vegans. So they looked at those 5 types of patterns of eating. Accordingly, several studies link vegetarian and vegan diets, which are naturally high in plant foods, to a 12 to 15% lower risk of premature death. That is a lot. 12 to 15% lower risk of premature death. Vegetarian diets are associated with lower all-cause mortality, death, with some reductions in cause, specifically mortality. Results appear to be more robust in males. So this is saying they saw a bigger change in males than they did in females. These favorable associations should be considered carefully by those offering dietary guidelines. That's what the study is saying. So in regards to this, what this is also saying is 29 to 52% lower risk of dying from cancer, heart disease, kidney or hormone-related diseases were also seen in this study if you reduce your plant intake. So this study is saying increase your plant food intake and your risk of mortality, death decreases. But not only that, your risk of disease decreases. So you're going to live longer, but you're going to live healthier. Bam, that is amazing. I love it. I love it. The other one is, the next one that we're going to talk about is the Mediterranean diet. You've probably heard a lot of people talk about a Mediterranean diet, and it has been linked to longevity. The Mediterranean diet has been linked to longevity for a number of years, and there's been so much research done on the longevity diet. On the Mediterranean diet on longevity. I had to put the blind down. It was like blinding me, the sun. I love it. So among individuals aged 70 to 90 years, adherence to Mediterranean diet and healthy lifestyle is associated with a more than 50% lower rate of all-cause and cause-specific mortality. That is amazing. That is actually crazy. And this is just from eating a Mediterranean diet, which means you get to enjoy those olives. You get to enjoy those vegetables, those beans. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Nutrition has been recognized to have an important impact on overall mortality and health. And its role in extending life expectancy has been the object of research. Like the Mediterranean has been researched like crazy. There's so much research on there. So in particular, this paper looked at the mechanisms that potentially linking aging with diet and the scientific evidence supporting the anti-aging effect of the traditional Mediterranean diet, as well as some specific foods. So this study found that there is a link between Mediterranean diet, a traditional Mediterranean diet, not one that I have been to Italy, and some of the things that they eat or do at specific times, I'm a bit like, I wonder if they did that 10, 20, 30 years ago. I think it has changed a little bit in that sense. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at here, Mediterranean-based diet, is fish-based, is vegetables, it's fruit, it's nuts, seeds, olive oil. It's those types of foods that they eat. They eat a lower amount of red meats, but they eat higher amounts of fish. But not only that, the key also is they eat seasonally. They eat whatever is in season in summer, they eat it. Whatever's in season in winter, they eat it, because they mostly grow it off their land, so they don't have huge greenhouses that we have here, and we can get anything at any time. I remember when I went and saw my grandma, and this is in Croatia. The thing is that when I went there and I wanted broccoli, and they're like, well, it's not season for broccoli. And I'm like, but I want broccoli. And they're like, well, we can't find broccoli anywhere because it's summer and there's no broccoli grown in summer. And I was like, oh, can't we just go shops? And this was a few years ago, and it just doesn't happen like that. You work with what you're given at the season and you eat that. But let's get into the next one. The next one is physical exercise. Yes, I've said it again and again. I keep talking about exercise, how important it is for us and our health. As few as 15 minutes of exercise per day may help you achieve benefits, which could include an additional 3 years addition to your life. So if you're going to live only to 80, you exercise 15 minutes a day, and there goes 83. Boom, done. That easy. Your risk of premature death may decrease by 4% for each additional 15 minutes of daily physical activity. Compared with individuals in an inactivity group, those in the low volume activity group who exercise for an average of 92 minutes, that's a very random number, but 92, so an hour and 32 minutes per week, or 15 minutes a day, had a 14% reduced risk of all-cause mortality and had a 3-year longer life expectancy. And every additional 50 minutes of daily exercise beyond the minimum of 15 minutes further reduced all-cause mortality by 4% and all cancer mortality by 1%. These benefits were applicable to all age groups and both sexes. So it was to males, females, no matter how old you are, how young you are. Bam, exercise helps. If you do 15 minutes and if you add more time to it, you even get more benefits. That's crazy. This is unheard of. Not many medications, not many things that you see out there, not many foods do this like exercise does. There you go. So exercise is linked to living longer. 50 minutes a day or 90 minutes a week of moderate intensity exercise might be of benefit, even for individuals who have cardiovascular disease risks. So why else do individuals live longer? What else is the key? Well, the other key is happiness. That's right, putting a smile on your dial and actually being internally happy. And I've spoken about this a number of times. So 7 types of evidence are reviewed that indicate high subjective well-being, such as life satisfaction, absence of negative emotions, optimism, and positive emotions cause better health and longevity. So this is the key again. We're not just going to live longer, but we're going to live longer happier. So there were about 35 studies investigated mortality in initially healthy population, and these 35 studies of disease. So they looked at 35 studies of healthy individuals and 35 studies of sick individuals. So this meta-analysis showed that positive physiological well-being was associated with reduced mortality in both the healthy population and the diseased population. So this is the reason why I mentioned this one, is because we're not just looking at people who are already healthy, we're also looking at people who are sick, and if this is going to help them live longer. This meta-analysis study that controlled for negative effects showed that the protective effects of positive psychology well-being were independent of the negative effect. Both positive effects such as emotional well-being, mood, joy, happiness, energy, and a positive trait like disposition, like life satisfaction, hopefulness, optimism, and a sense of humor were associated with reduced mortality in healthy population studies. Positive psychology well-being was significantly associated with reduced cardiovascular mortality in healthy population studies, with reduced death rates in patients with renal failure and with human immunodeficiency virus infections such as the HIV virus. So this is saying that being happy can help you in the long term. Being happy and having positive emotions and actually being in a good mood. This is also saying being hopeful, having optimism, having a sense of humor is going to be beneficial for your health to live longer. This is an interesting study that I thought I'd put in there. It's got to do with Catholic nurses. So handwritten autobiographies from 180 Catholic nurses composed when participants were about an age of 22 years old. So they wrote stuff when they're 22 years old. They were scored on emotional content related to survival age during. So then they looked at survival age of 75 to 95. So this was a long study, what they looked at. A strong inverse association was found between positive emotions content in these writings and risk of mortality later in life. So what this is saying, the individuals, the nurses who wrote positive things in their diaries when they're 22 years of age, they are the ones that lived longer. Yes, they're the ones that live longer later in life. So this is saying that positive emotions in early life increased the ranking of living longer. There was step-aside decrease in risk of mortality, resulting in a 2.5-fold difference between lowest and highest individuals. Positive emotions content in early life autobiographies were strongly associated with longevity 6 decades later, 60 years later. Underlying mechanisms of balanced emotional states are discussed. This is saying that you can't just be happy for a year or two. Well, you can, it's going to help, but this is saying long-lasting happiness and being happy at a constant, a balanced life is going to give you that amazing outcome to live longer till you're 80, till you're 90. So that's interesting. You wouldn't think, happiness is going to make you live longer. And I mean, I've spoken about some free ones. We've got happiness is free. We've got exercise is free. Okay, your Mediterranean diet, your plants, they might cost a bit more, but you can grow them. And then what else did I talk about? A calorie restriction, that's free. So you can't tell me that living longer costs a lot more, because it doesn't. It just means you need to change your lifestyle a little bit more. Let's look at the next one. I've got a few more here which I'm excited about. So we've got balanced minerals and vitamins. So approximately 30 minerals and vitamins are cofactors necessary for metabolism to function properly, and were discovered because severe dietary deficiencies were linked to a serious adverse health effects and mortality, right? So these include, let's name them: vitamin A, B1, B2, B6, B12, biotin, vitamin C, choline, vitamin D, E, folic acid, vitamin K, niacin, B3, B5, and minerals elements: calcium, chloride, chromium, cobalt, copper, iodine, iron, manganese, magnesium, molybdenum, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, sodium, sulfur, and zinc. There you have it, all 30 of them. So some additional, they're saying that additional that are important are omega-3s, which 100% are important, DHA and EPAs, but they're not minerals or vitamins, so they thought they'll put them in there. Most of the world's population, even in developed countries, consume many of the vitamins and minerals that we spoke about at a low level. Okay, at a very low levels. And then and some of them, to put a note on there, maybe having them at a high level, but they might not be absorbing them. So vitamins and essential minerals are usually thought of as a compounds crucial for survival or protecting against ill health. So this is saying that, so if you have a balanced diet with these vitamins and minerals, you are going to live longer. You're not going to get these diseases that a lot of individuals do who do not eat enough minerals and vitamins or don't get them in their body. So this is this concept that they're introducing. Very, very interesting. So there you have it. I've spoken about a number of things. I've spoken about eating plant foods, restricting your diet, Mediterranean diet, exercise, minerals and vitamins. And I also spoke about, what did I miss? Happiness. How can I miss that one? So there you have it, a few things that impact longevity. So now you can question yourself is, am I going to live to that number that you said to me at the start of this video? Are you going to live to that number? And how can you make sure you live to that number? Well, what can you do right now to ensure that you are hitting that number? Well, I've got 3 things for you right here, right now. So one is plant foods. Increase your vegetables. Increase your vegetable intake. All different types of colors, all the time. Look at your plate when you're eating. Do I have my blue? Do I have my red? Do I have my green colors? Do I have my purple color, my white, my black, my maroon? Do I have those colors in front of me? Ask yourself these questions. Number 2 is introduce fasting into your lifestyle. So this works with dietary restrictions, with fasting. Work with a professional, health professional, because some individuals, fasting is not good for them and it will actually do more damage to them. So have some days where you're calorie restrictions and other days where you're eating your normal foods. Number 3, the top one, the number one that I think is going to change things up is be happy. Let's think about that. Be happy. It's a huge thing. Be internally happy within yourself, because, don't let other individuals impact you, because when you're happy inside yourself internally, you're the one that's going to live longer. You're the one that's going to reap the benefits of it, not the individuals around you. So think about yourself. It's time to be a little bit selfless in a beneficial way and look after yourself and be happy within yourself, because when you're happy within yourself, everyone else gets those benefits of you and you get to live longer. Boom, boom, boom. How amazing is that? So there you have it. Today's episode about longevity. I was so excited to do this episode because who doesn't want to live longer? But not only live longer, who doesn't want to have that quality life and that good health at an older age? I know I do. I always tell people I'm going to live till I'm about 200 years old. We'll see what happens. Hey, the thought's out there. I'm positive about it. We'll see what happens. 200 is my goal. What is your goal? What is the number that you want to live to, and how are you going to achieve it? There you have it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I absolutely love and appreciate your support. Share this episode with someone that you want them to live longer. You want someone to live longer? Share this episode with them. Rate this podcast, review, let me know what your thoughts are. Get in contact with me at mihaela.ragoos on Instagram. Let me know your thoughts. Do what you do best. Love, like, share, review. Love you. Till next Monday. Love you.